The son of a priest watched his father get murdered right before his eyes. At just 8 years old, he inherited his father's fierce spirit. There was a dark chapter in the history of New York City. A house caught fire, and almost every police officer and firefighter in the city eagerly rushed to the scene. The homeowner was deeply moved until he realized they weren't there to help. Instead, they took advantage of the chaos to loot the place. Fights broke out as everyone scrambled to grab what they could. The public grew resentful of the government, and that's when the law came crashing down.
I'm paid to uphold the law.
Anyone who disobeyed was hanged in public to keep the crowds in check. Theft, murder, arson, and rampant injustice happened daily. Everyone was turning into a gangster just to survive. Irish immigrants, Indian immigrants, Japanese groups, and even factions from Shanghai all formed their own gangs. At one point, New York had over 100 rival gangs, but one gang always held the crown. They were native-born Americans, and they wanted all immigrant gangs driven out. If the immigrant gangs wanted to survive, they had to join forces and defeat the locals to seize control of the Five Points district. The leader of the Dead Rabbits gang was a priest who cared deeply about the fate of his fellow Irishmen. He took the initiative to unite the immigrant gangs and prepare for a final showdown with the native gang. Everyone trained hard. Both sides honored a code of chivalry. No guns, only blades and blunt weapons. In the snow, they clashed in brutal hand-to-hand combat. This isn't a fictional tale. It's the true story of 19th century New York, a city where immigrants from around the world came chasing the American dream. Sadly, the priest was killed by the leader of the native gang, a man known as the Butcher. His death meant the Butcher now had total control of the 5 Points. The priest's son, just 8 years old at the time, witnessed it all. He raised a dagger in grief, then ran to the cellar and buried his father's medal and blade, symbols of honor. 16 years later, the boy, now a young man named Vallon, finished his religious training in a monastery. But as soon as he walked out the gate, he threw away his Bible. 16 years of faith and compassion hadn't erased the hate in his heart. He returned to that old cellar, dug up his father's dagger and medal, and vowed to take revenge on the Butcher. Since the priest's death, all the other gangs had submitted to the Butcher's rule. The people the priest had once trusted had either become his loyal henchmen, or worse, become corrupt cops just like him, preying on the very people they once vowed to protect.